Welcome, listeners, to northeastvalleynews.org. You're listening to Fielder's Choice.
Nice.
We have to say it in the voice of. We have to say it in the voice of. Who am I saying it in the voice of?
I have no idea.
It's
Legendary
Howard Cosell.
broadcaster Howard
It's
Cosell.
legendary
Anybody under 30
broadcaster
did not
Howard
get that
Cosell.
reference.
This is the podcast where the panelists control the topics of conversation. Each one of us got to pick a topic earlier before we started, so we know who's talking about what. But that's how it works. Each of us are going to get some time, and then the panel's going to discuss stuff, and then we're going to move on to the next guy. That's how Fielder's Choice works. Today is Tuesday, April 16th. I have with me in the studio other people. Josh Bleimeyer is on microphone number 1.
Hello, hello.
Ethan Cohen is next to him, making the corner. Mike Brown, Thomas Bonvehi, and I am Ole Olafson. You can't see me because I don't like to be on camera. I'm this mysterious
He's terrifying.
producer guy. As I said before, it's Tuesday, April 16th. If I haven't said that already, I've just said it. We're going to get started with Fielder's Choice right now and talk about some sports stuff. We're going to start off with Josh on microphone number 1. Hit us, Josh. What's going on?
Yes, so a couple days ago, we got the breaking news for any Arizona sports fan. One of the big four franchises is leaving the state for good. They're going to Salt Lake City, and yes, I'm talking about the Arizona Coyotes. Little backstory on them. They came from Winnipeg in 1996 as the Jets, playing at the Suns Arena downtown. They were able to make an agreement. And then arguably the biggest change that faulted this whole thing started with ownership. The owner, Jerry Moyes, who moved the team to Glendale in 2003 to restructure the team. He thought it'd be a great idea. When they first moved to Glendale, was a good option, and I think it was viable for them for a while, but they started to see less and less fans going to games as performance wasn't up to standard. And then from then on, it wasn't bad. He filed, or it got even worse, sorry, filed for bankruptcy in 2009, and then the league took the team over and sold to the now owner, Alex Moreno, who was just forced to sell. As
Moreno or Morello?
Or Morello, sorry.
So, yeah, we don't want to get that mixed up.
Yeah, sorry, Alex Morello. And as he was going to guarantee to buy this land in the Northeast Valley off the 101 in Scottsdale Road.
Right, they've been playing in a temporary. Our listeners should know they've been playing in a temporary place at Mullet Arena, which is a college hockey rink.
On
right,
the campus
so they
of
don't.
Arizona State.
Right, they haven't had a place to play, so they've been there.
Right.
Was that all like 4,000 people?
Yeah, about 4,000. It's much smaller than a normal. But I mean, there's not that many. I mean, it's full house every time.
Yeah, with the opposing team's fans.
Right, with the opposing team's fans. Anyway, keep going, Josh. Sorry.
I get really confused because they are saying in Mullet, and they were going to guarantee the owner, Alex Morello, as we said, was going to guarantee to buy this land and then start, digging dirt in 2025.
Right, they had a big plan.
And where I just get the mix up between the franchise and the ownership moving is they were originally last season going to talk about moving to Tempe, the rights, and build this brand new state-of-the-art stadium that never got passed. But the NHL was then okay with them staying, playing at Mullet, and seeing if there was another viable option in the Valley. Unfortunately, they weren't able to find an option. He was going to guarantee to buy this land and hope for a promising future here in the Valley. Now, once that news broke, 5-6 days later, we find out that the team is just full on sold and moving ship. So I think that
doing a Baltimore Colts thing.
Yeah. There's just some sort of upsetness between the fans, the city.
There was some kind of disconnect. Yeah, we've been getting there's been a lot of kind of conflicting information and strange situations kind of surrounding the thing. A couple of weeks ago, they allegedly accidentally leaked plans for the new stadium. Or the new rink, I guess you would call it. And then a few days later, they came out and said, oh, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're going to buy this land. Everything's great. And then the mayor of Scottsdale came out and said, yeah, we don't have any water for that. You guys are going to have to move along. And we just don't know. We really, as fans and as people living in the valley following the situation, we really don't know, to be honest, what's going on.
Yeah. No. So, like, my question to you guys as the panelists is, the NHL did say that if he does, or if he buys the land, because he still guarantees that he's going to get it. If he buys the land and there is no NHL team, the NHL says that they'll expand a team within the next 4 to 5 years, coming back to the fifth largest city in the U.S., Phoenix, Arizona. Now, if a team comes back, my question to you guys is, do you think that they will gain the same respect uh, as the Arizona Coyotes? Obviously, there'll be a different name, different team. Do you think that there still will be a gathering around the city for this hockey team if it's the same owner, for that matter, too? Or do you think the NHL looks in a different direction for ownership and expansion? Do you think the NFL is going to, or sorry, the NHL is going to wait 8 to 10 years, even though they say 4? What do you guys think the future of Arizona hockey looks like at the professional level? That's what I'm asking.
It's all about finding a place to play to me. I mean, if they're not gonna find a place in Scottsdale or Tempe or Glendale, I mean, where are you?
I don't know that you can build a rink. I don't know that you can spend that kind of money on speculation, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd have to be some pretty solid, you'd have to have some pretty solid information as to whether or not they were going to want to expand here before you spend all that money on a stadium that's not going to be used for anything if the team doesn't wind up here.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did
and
say
they're
they
not going to
use
go to
it for
Casa
concerts.
Grande.
Right. Well, that's what they always say when they develop any kind of a multi-use facility. They're, well, it'll be fine. We'll have concerts there and stuff. So, I mean, that's a pretty
Which is going
stock
to be hard to
answer.
pull off with the footprints that are
It's
already in
not,
existence.
to be completely
Ain't Chase
honest,
Field.
like I was saying, Mullet is full because it's only 4,000 seats. If you go back and look at the attendance in Glendale, it's at the
Desert Diamond Arena,
whatever it was called, that went through several
Gila River.
Gila River Arena. It went through several different names. There was only a spattering of people there generally for hockey games. So we
Right, but
don't,
how often did they field a contender during that time?
well, not very often, but I mean, that's the thing is what, I mean, if you're gonna have a team and nobody's gonna show up to the games unless they're really good, you might as well not have a team. I mean, you have to have that loyal fan base that keeps coming back, whether or not you're rebuilding or whether and you're in the playoffs or whatever. So I mean, we're on a little bit tenuous footing out here because it's not a quote unquote hockey town.
I think you can get away with that unless if you have the name recognition like the Dodgers or USC or teams like on the hard West Coast that can go through these lulls where the fans don't show up unless they're really good, because it's kind of a place to be seen when the action, like especially with the Lakers, when the Lakers are good, all the celebrities show up. But
sure,
they don't have enough. They don't have enough name
Knicks.
recognition. If they, had messed around and won a cup or two in that time frame, like the Diamondbacks have a World Series, so they at least have something to hold on to. Granted, it's been almost 25 years, but still, they have one.
Do you guys think it'd be easier to develop interest in a expansion team or in a team that's just moving from somewhere, like the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg? They're the Jets are the Atlanta Thrashers.
Well,
so I mean, do you think it'd be easier for people to get behind a team that's already going? Or?
I think an expansion team, especially because we've already had the Arizona Coyotes, so we've already had a team. So if we were to just have a team move here, it's almost like the Coyotes moving to Salt Lake City. To be honest, I don't think that there is a very, I mean, obviously the Jazz have a loyal fan base and they're a long historic team in Utah, or not really a long historic team in Utah specifically, but long enough to where they have a loyal fan base. And so I do think that they'll enjoy the Coyotes. And there's also something to be said that there's been many years of rebuild for us Coyotes fans that have been looking after all these young guys like Dylan Gunther and Logan Cooley.
Yeah, the sad part is we're really getting a core.
Yeah, and now that we have a core and a future and something to build off of, all of a sudden the team's gone.
Right.
And so it's almost like a lost heart in a way that
right. They're just about rebuilt.
They're just getting the team together.
Somebody's going to get a good team. That's for sure. We don't know whether it's going to be Salt Lake City. And we think it's going to be Salt Lake City.
Right.
That's what they said. Anyway.
I could definitely see an expansion coming back here in Phoenix. Now, whether, if they move to Utah and they decide to change, the identity and team name and all of that is still up in the air. You never know. But, growing up, I didn't really watch hockey, but like one of the things I know for, and this is like kind of in all sports, the only thing worse than being bad is being irrelevant. And I feel like for like a while, when I sat down and watched hockey, the Coyotes were always that like one of those few teams that just felt irrelevant. And obviously now it's like, I mean, I don't follow it, but you just said it seems like you guys got a bright future, with all these players, and now all of a sudden they're just going to Utah. And so, if this becomes like another, I mean, we've seen it before with the, Baltimore Ravens having success.
Yeah, maybe they'll
Browns,
be
they've
really good
sucked.
coming up.
Yeah, you guys get an expansion team. Maybe they're good like the Knights, or maybe, you know, they start off terribly like the Browns did in the NFL, or maybe who knows, maybe they're like a Kraken who I think, started
Right,
off
might
solidly
really-
and they
might
They
really
made the
come up.
playoffs in their first
yeah,
year.
they made the
I'm pretty
playoff.
sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Get
I
the right
mean, this
people
is
in
going to
place, you
be
can make things happen.
right.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that is going to be one of those things that we'll just have to see what happens, I guess. And
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
nothing really we can do about it.
Thomas,
Yeah.
what do you have for us today?
We're talking about Bayer Leverkusen and their worst to first story. Now, this is German football
Okay,
or soccer.
Soccer.
right,
Soccer, as you guys would call it.
right. Sure.
Anyways, so
What league do they play in?
they play in the Bundesliga, which is the German.
Bundesliga, which is different than the Premier League.
Yeah, it is different.
Very.
It's the German first division. And this team, they're very historical, and yet at the same time, they do not have the silverware to show for it. In 2002, they reached the Champions League final where Zinedine Zidane, one of the greatest players of all time, scored arguably his most infamous goal. Not his infamous moment, though. That was obviously the headbutt. And then fast forward up until 2022, 2022, no, 2023. And they are sitting 17th in the Bundesliga, which is in the relegation zone. And how it works is if you're in the relegation zone at the end of the season, you go from the first division to the second division. And so they fire their coach and they hire this guy called Xabi Alonso, world-class player, played for Liverpool, Bayern Munich, who plays in Germany, plays in the Bundesliga. We'll talk about in a moment. And he played for Real Madrid. Incredible player. He won the World Cup. He won the Champions League. He won almost everything. He takes over Leverkusen, and he takes them from 17th to 5th. So now they went from relegation to competing in Europe. They still don't have many expectations. And now, with 4 or 5 games left, they have secured their first ever Bundesliga title, and they are unbeaten throughout the whole year. They have gone 43 games unbeaten, which is tied for the longest streak in any of the Big Five leagues. And with that win, Bayern Munich, for the first time in 11 years, has not won the Bundesliga. They won 11 straight in a row, and Bayer Leverkusen not only beat them, but they beat them soundly. And this was after they signed Harry Kane for 100 million, who is very infamous for not winning trophies. And Germany was seen as a farmers league, which is a term basically saying it's owned by one team, kind of like, I don't know, it's like a dynasty. Yeah, it's like if you like a super team, and all of a sudden,
Monopoly.
yeah, a monopoly basically. And Harry Kane, great striker, finally gonna win silverware, and Bayer Leverkusen just say no, we're gonna take the league this year.
Yeah, take that. What's did they make a bunch of roster changes, or what prompted the turnaround?
I think the major signing that I saw was Granit Xhaka, but he did not contribute as much. It was mostly built-in talent. They have an incredible midfielder, Florian Wirtz. I hope I'm saying that right. He's incredible talent, very young. I believe he's 21. But I think the biggest turnaround was Xabi Alonso. The way he just changed the dynamic. I mean, this group, they fought tooth and nail. In the Europa League, they were down by 1 goal in stoppage time. They ended up winning the game. They scored 2 goals in stoppage times.
Yeah.
Anytime this team looks like they're about to lose, they are down in the 88th minute, down by 1 goal, down by 2 goals. They come back and they either win or they draw. They just don't lose. They do not give up until that final whistle is blown. They're going to fight tooth and nail. They're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at you if it means getting a draw.
Well, I think that's what makes sports so great. I mean, obviously, I'm not a huge soccer football fan myself, but I look back at as a basketball like Suns fan, and you look at the run that they made in the bubble when they had continuously losing season records or losing seasons. And then all of a sudden it's like a team comes together, and part of it's chemistry, but I also think some of it comes down to coaching as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can name many various different sports where like the Broncos and Denver Broncos and their development program and the great coaching that they have had in the past to win Super Bowls. And I think it's cool to see in that league as well that teams are going through adversity and able to come together when they weren't even expected to necessarily do that well in the games.
They were expected at best be finish around 6th, 7th, and they're still unbeaten. I mean, they haven't lost a single game this whole year.
That's unbelievable.
And yeah, I mean, like a run, I guess I can compare it to NFL 2021 Bengals, NHL. I think it was 2022 Montreal Canadiens. Remember that team? They didn't have many expectations, but they went to the Stanley Cup final. But like this run has been incredible.
Diamondbacks last year.
Yeah, Diamondbacks last year. And now, of course, Xabi Alonso is being tipped for the Liverpool job, the Bayern job, the Real Madrid job. And then he comes out, I believe he said this in March. He says, I'm staying another year. And so now everyone's like, okay, if he can, you can say with quotation marks.
Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
He's not
when that check hits the bank.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know.
Talks,
you never
my
know.
boy.
Money does talk. But if he does stay and he keeps his core, don't be surprised if they make another one or they make a run in the Champions League, because this team is deadly.
All right, you heard it here first.
Probably.
Watch for them in the future for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a little spring football. The NFL ended in February with the big game that we all watched. There's a new league in town, though. It's called the United Football League. It started March 30th. So they're currently coming up to week 4. This is a merger between the XFL and the USFL. As I mentioned, it's called the United Football League. It's an 8-team league. They have a 10-week season. The championship game is going to be on June 16th. There are games on both Saturday and Sunday, which I like because I work on Sunday, and so I don't ever get to see any games. So this games on Saturday appeal to me. There's 2 conferences. There's an XFL conference and a USFL conference. Firstly, let's go through let's go over the owners. There's 2 owners. The National Spring Football League Enterprises is a Fox holding. They are affiliated with the USFL side. The XFL side is represented by XFL Properties, which is a ABC company. That's Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. They were the owners of the XFL. They've since the thing restarted without like sans Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
They've been
Yeah.
they've been the owners. Not very well. Not very well at all.
Vince lost.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Let's go through these conferences real quick. In the USFL conference, they kept the Birmingham Stallions. They were the USFL champs last year, and they're currently 3-0. At 2-1, the Michigan Panthers play at Ford Field. 1 and 2 Memphis Showboats play at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium, which I'm assuming is where Memphis University
I believe so, yeah.
plays.
Probably.
And then the Houston Roughnecks haven't won yet this year. They play at Rice Stadium, which I'm assuming is where the Rice college football team plays as well.
So
Which is not in Houston.
Probably not. The XFL conference is also made up of 4 teams. The DC Defenders are 2-1. They play at Audi Field, home of the Cup Snake. Everybody knows what a cup snake is.
Yeah.
I thought that was
The
an
empty-
outfield.
Took me a second.
It's
but yeah.
empty beer
Yeah.
cups all stacked together.
Yeah, that
I thought that, yeah,
Right,
that's
Super
an
Bowl
thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just call it a beer snake. But
Beer snake. Yeah, it's a beer cup snake. Let's call it a beer cup snake.
There we go.
All right.
Sling
Yeah.
it.
That's at Audi Field. The St. Louis Battlehawks are also 2-1. They have, in my opinion, the best fan base of all of the UFL teams. They actually play at the Dome at America Center, where the St. Louis Rams used to play.
I
before
think
they
that
moved.
contributes heavily to the fact that
Yeah.
their fan
Yeah.
base is pretty rabid.
Yeah,
They're still upset about losing the
Yeah,
Miami.
they are. They sure are.
Yeah,
There
they
a lot
definitely
of
are.
people go to the St. Louis Battlehawks game. San Antonio Brahmas 2-1. They play at the Alamo Dome. Their coach is Wade Phillips. He has a lot of experience in the football.
Nice
His
to see old
dad
Michelin
his
man
dad
here.
was Bum Phillips.
That's
Legendary
the Rams'
coach.
old D coordinator, right? Wait,
Probably
Wade-
could
Wade
be
coached in
Philadelphia.
yeah.
He coached with Philadelphia too. He's kind of notorious for punching the assistant coaches in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Arlington Renegades.
That was Buddy Ryan.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
Buddy
that was-
I'm
yeah,
so
was that
sorry,
Buddy
Wade. I am super sorry, Wade Phillips. I really am sorry.
That guy's a
That
legend,
that
though.
was Buddy Ryan. You're right.
Buddy Ryan did that.
Arlington Renegades have not won a game either. Oddly enough, they were the XFL champions last year. They play at Choctaw Stadium.
Is Bob Stoops still their coach?
Yes. Yes, Bob Stoops is.
He's too busy drinking that rock.
Isn't it?
So we have this there's this new spring league. I just talked about them. I love everything about spring football. The only thing that disappoints me about this league is that it used to be 2 8-team leagues. So there was basically twice as many chances for players who were not good enough for the NFL or for some reason or another just didn't make it to the NFL, whether it was they got injured at the wrong time or they maybe made some bad choices. There's a number of reasons why players don't make it to the NFL. It's very, very competitive. So my only beef with the new spring league is that it's consolidated into only this small number of teams and there's less chances for players. But other than that, I like all of the different things about it. I like the fact that it's a progressive league and that they're interested in the UFL is going to be where a lot of the NFL's new rules come from.
Yes.
Because the NFL can't just try stuff. Apparently they're too important for that.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's where the new
That's
they
what
let
the new
so they
kick-
let
yeah,
every they let other leagues try stuff and then if it works out they adopt it. And I dig that. I like it. So, I mean, what do y'all think about this? I mean, do you think it's going to be a viable thing? There's been many spring leagues that have failed before this one.
There have been
Yeah.
so many spring leagues.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
The first one I remember was the AAF, which is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
Right.
it was
There was a USFL a long
Yeah.
time ago.
There was an XFL a long time ago.
There was an XFL a long time ago.
AAF.
That-
XFL in
AAF.
2020 came back, but that one obviously COVID happened. so
Right. The
you can-
pandemic happened and
Yeah.
it failed again and then they came back again.
Yeah, so you can give them a pass.
Very tumultuous for sure.
The thing that makes it, I think, I feel like it's inevitable, and at the same time, it's just trial and error. Because like it's clear that like football in the spring it's gonna happen eventually with like all of these. It's like
Yeah, we're hating not having football after
yeah,
the Super
it's
Bowl.
like what 6 months of no football.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
You gotta watch
We-
Canadian
yeah,
football, eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I mean, Johnny Manziel dominates.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
in. He's not allowed in that league
No.
either anymore. Sorry.
um,
Yeah, he's out of every
Yeah,
league.
Manziel happened. That's
Yeah,
what
Johnny
happened.
Manziel
that
happened.
happened. Yeah.
That was a dumbass question. That was
Yeah.
dumb.
That was a
So
dumb question.
Johnny 8 Ball showed up.
yep, he did. So I think the
Thomas, you like it?
I do like it.
Okay,
I
all
think
right.
the biggest issue, of course, has always been this, especially with the AAF, in my opinion. But like, this is the first thing you got to get set is obviously finance, and you don't even need to set up like a loyal, like hardcore fan base. Obviously, you want that, but
Mhm.
you don't got to set it up straight away. You want to set up a place where teams play. You don't want to be like
Right. The
traveling
USFL
places.
was kind of struggling because their first year they played all of their games in Birmingham, Alabama. All the teams played in Birmingham. So there was only
Yeah.
one home team, and of course they won the title because
Shocker.
fans showed up to watch them. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like it. I think it's going in the right direction.
It looks like that.
We've got a big week 4 matchup coming up between let me see here, between Memphis and St. Louis. That's going to be a good game. The Memphis Showboats and the St. Louis Battlehawks are going to play this week. That's going to be a good one. So I mean, just keep an eye on that league and we'll see what happens. anything could happen with spring football
Wait,
for
really,
sure.
really quickly, does anyone know? I know Destroying was this popular social media kicker
He was
that
the
never got a
kicker.
shot at the NFL,
Uh-huh.
and everyone was like, "This guy's so good, he could casually kick a 60-yard field goal on an empty
Didn't he
field."
get injured?
And he got injured. What UFL team
tackle.
was he on?
We what
The Brahmas.
Do you know?
San Antonio Brahmas.
He just
Or
got injured
Yeah,
this
he-
year.
yeah,
On
he
a
started
kickoff,
this
he
year.
made a big hit and he like broke his neck.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
it's also as you were saying, is it's kind of cool that you get to see some of these opportunities
Mhm.
for people, but obviously
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't
It's
always
not
work
just-
It
out.
doesn't always work.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work out regardless, for sure.
It's also it's not just guys that never made it to the NFL. I mean, you still have
Well, there's NFL players. There's a ton of NFL
Philip
players
Lindsay.
for
Josh
sure.
Gordon, AJ McCarron.
Right,
Lindsay's
right. There's a
there.
ton of NFL
Philip
players
Lindsay.
on the teams for sure.
So
Yeah,
like it's more jobs.
yeah.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good idea, man. But I like how they're starting small. See if you can develop the
Definitely.
fan bases and establish fan bases, and then try to expand. I do think it'd be interesting to see if they could potentially contract with the NFL in some
It'd
capacity.
be nice if they could
That
become
would be
some
nice,
sort of
definitely.
developmental league or something.
Only you probably remember this. They used to have NFL Europe.
Right,
they have
right.
those
That
teams
was an
that were-
actual
Yeah, it was
developmental.
basically a minor leagues
Mhm.
essentially because the guys obviously they're not going to get paid as much as the NFL
I
guys.
think we need that, or we need a UFL, like a UFL league, a
Like its own thing.
developmental league for the UFL.
Because
One or the other.
It's the only thing outside of the NFL that's fairly contested under the similar rules. I mean, we've had the
Mhm.
arena leagues, we've had other situations where guys could go hone their skills somewhere else,
Right.
but the rule sets were completely different. Even in
Right.
the CFL, the field's bigger, the field's
Right,
wider.
there's only 3
There's
downs,
12,
et cetera.
12 guys on the field. You can get a running start.
Right, right. There's all kinds of different
Yeah.
stuff.
And
Well, it's going to be, regardless, it'll be interesting to see how this league pans out. And it's going on right now, and it's pretty good football, to be honest.
as long as you don't rush into anything, I think they'll be fine.
I think
No, and they've got
it'll be okay.
plenty of financial backing. That's not an issue anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
Rock the Dwayne Johnson's probably worth about a couple bill by this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think they're on a lot steadier ground financial. I think that's going to make all the difference for sure.
You're gonna take losses for a couple years.
Today, Mike and Ethan are going to be a podcasting team. If your topics are similar or the same, you're going to be a team. So they're going to kick off some talk about the NBA playoffs. Let's get into it.
Yeah, basically talking to the playoffs. The playoffs are set. The seeds are set. The play-in teams are set. The Western Conference play-in games begin tonight. So we have the Pelicans against the Lakers, the Kings against the Warriors. Basically, what I wanted to go across with a lot of this is basically anybody's predictions about basically the Eastern Conference. I know Ethan talked about this in pre-production that he kind of likes the Knicks to give Boston a run for their money in the Eastern Conference.
They're the only team that can do it.
I have somewhat of a partial to Indiana, and the only reason why is because their offense, I realize they don't guard anybody at all, but I've seen teams that play the way they do that if you get hot at the right time, this could actually work. Now, Boston's good enough defensively, I think, to slow them down, and I also am very curious to see what the 76ers can do. Embiid is back. How healthy is he really? But they looked like one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference before he got injured. And now that he's back, obviously, is he all the way back? How hurt is he still? But I think they could still have a shot. Of course, they've also had a notorious issue for choking the last couple of years as it is.
I've just
Oh,
said
yeah.
one thing about the East that we're all forgetting, and that's Jimmy Buckets.
I was going to get to that point.
I know
Yeah.
people are, everyone, they're not a high seed, or they're like 7 or 8.
They're
but
8.
They're
Eight
8
right now.
But let
Every
me tell
year.
you, Miami shows up in the playoffs.
They always do.
They've been doing it- they've been doing it since LeBron was on the team. Like
Yeah.
They probably
he-
have the best coach in the NBA.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
Eric
yeah.
Spoelstra
Eric
is a
Spoelstra,
genius.
is
I mean,
literally
Spoelstra
legend.
is insane.
And they play basketball the right way. I mean, they get the ball to their shooters. They play terrific defense. They hustle for every board.
Bam Adebayo's
So
a
they're
top
dangerous.
center in the league right now.
Yeah.
Well, they
Young
got to
guy.
play the 76ers in the 7-8 play-in matchup. So the loser of that game will play the winner of who plays the Hawks and the Bulls. And I'm pretty sure those two are just cannon fodder at this point. They're just playing to see who gets knocked out first and second, because I think whoever loses the 76ers Miami Heat game are going to destroy whoever's left over. So
Probably.
they're going to end up as the 8. Now, it would be interesting because whoever loses the 7-8 game, whoever wins that, they're going to draw Boston in the first round. So I guess we're gonna have to see really quick if Philly or Miami or
That's
I
why.
don't see the
I-
Bulls or the Hawks doing it, but I mean, who knows? Maybe Trae
Yeah.
Young will go ballistic.
I
Yeah.
think Miami might have a shot at Boston, but I don't think Philly
Well, they
does.
beat him up. They beat him up last year.
Thing with
I mean, yeah, anything's possible, and with this goes for any playoffs, but like in the NBA, you saw it last year with Miami Heat.
Mhm.
It's the hottest team that gets to the finals. It's the team that's on fire. So it doesn't really matter how good you were in the
I mean, I
regular
think they're a team that's built to play Boston because they're built a lot like the
Mhm.
Knicks are. They play hard defense and basically try to force you into completely going obsolete, inept on offense, and we're gonna ugly this smooth up and beat you 87-84 and watch you cry about it.
like the Pistons used to do back in the day.
Yeah, and I mean that stuff still works in the playoffs in the NBA because they allow a lot more contact. You're allowed to start playing defense, which you're not allowed to do in the regular season because they're trying to sell tickets. But now it's about who can actually play basketball and who can, do things at a fundamental level consistently.
Mhm.
And they're the teams that
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah, LeBron spoke about it, and he said like basketball IQ really, really plays a factor starting in the second round of the playoffs. I was
Yeah.
watching a podcast with him and JJ Redick. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he spoke
Oh, yeah.
directly on that and the mindset of the playoffs.
I mean, the Heat, every time they roll up, they're a super hot team. So I think
Pun
them and the
intended.
Sixers are going to be the ones. No pun intended. Yeah, I think them and the
That too.
Sixers are going to be the one who get the playoff seeds. I'm going to be honest. I have no faith in the Sixers whatsoever. I mean, the way they choke, Embiid, he's got like what when he's played like one full healthy series. I
Right.
think.
Well, I mean, plus two, I mean, a lot of people blamed Harden for that last year and the year before that. So he's gone now. So it's now, but he's also coming off an injury. So I mean, the built-in excuse is already there if they don't get it done.
Mhm.
I've seen Maxey be unbelievable. I've also seen him be unbelievably bad. He seems to fall into
Yeah.
that category. He could shoot you right into the game and he can shoot you right back
Yeah.
out of it too. So a lot of it just depends on the situation. But
Yeah.
at least now, especially across the NBA, there seems to be a lot more parity than there really has been over the last handful of years. Most of the teams, especially in the Western Conference, are all jumbled up. They all basically
yeah.
have the same record. I mean,
Pretty much.
there's a 10,
Yeah.
10 game difference, but still to have the number one team be at 57 wins and the number 10 team be at 46 wins is not a large, dramatic drop
Well, I
off.
Yeah.
believe
Yeah,
the
it's pretty
top three in the
crazy.
West all have the same record.
Yeah.
Going into the game, they all had the
Timberwolves
same one.
lost to the
Oklahoma
Suns,
City
but-
has the one seed based on virtue of a tiebreaker. Denver is two, and
Mhm.
Minnesota is three. They actually draw the Suns in the first round, who
Yep.
squeaked out of their play-in
Yeah, it's-
situation and landed the
Yeah.
sixth seed. So, and Minnesota's a bit of a playoff virgin. They haven't really been there a whole lot over the last 20 years.
There's
Can the big three get it done?
Well,
there's definitely going to be a lot of narratives going into this.
I will say-
I think the Suns. I think I've said this earlier in the year. I'll say this again: is that having a bunch of stars doesn't win games. So it's gonna have to be the role players that step up, like Grayson Allen. Nurkic is gonna have to grab 15 boards a game during the playoffs. Like they're gonna have to have the physicality. They can't turn the ball over like they've been doing. So if they keep the ball safe, they can beat Minnesota.
But this also, like, if you think about it, Grayson Allen, as of I want to almost say 24 hours ago, just got $70 million for 4 years. And so I think that is 100% deserved. He has the best three-point percentage right now in the league. And I think there's a sense of relaxation in his mind because Ishbia just gave him the 70 million. So he's like, okay, going into the playoffs, I can relax. I know the big three are going to stay with this team. I know I'm going to stay with the team. I could stop renting a house. My wife can finally settle. I don't know if I'm picking up after the playoffs. I mean, what is this? His fifth, fourth team in the NBA. So I think there's a sense of as you were saying, it was a glue guy thing, and he has been the biggest glue piece. Obviously, we're going to look to sign Royce O'Neal and Bol and all those other guys, but at least right now, we know that our glue guy, I think the most consistent player on the team, Grayson Allen, is locked in for another 4 years going into the playoffs right now this year. And so as a Suns fan, I have a sense of settlement and the fact that no matter what, I think he can really strap into his game and not worry about all these extra things going on outside of the court, during the playoffs. But I also think we're having all this talk just for Denver to run it back.
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't know. I mean, As
Well,
much as I love the
Ethan,
Timberwolves and
do you
stuff,
see any like dark horse teams coming out of
the West?
coming out of anywhere? Either
I mean,
either
all the playing
conference.
teams in the Western Conference are solid. I mean, you have New Orleans now. I think they have some injury issues. I think Ingram's been banged up quite a bit. The Lakers obviously have LeBron and Anthony Davis. They've been relatively healthy most of the season. Now, D'Angelo Russell, after playing that "Please Don't Trade Me" for a while when he was out there losing his mind, he's kind of come back to reality a little bit. The Kings are the Kings. They're fun and exciting. Their fan base is rabid, waiting for a winner. You know, light the beam and all that stuff. And you still have the Warriors, who basically been nothing short of a dynasty relatively over the last decade. I mean, essentially, they kind of took over for the Spurs as far as winning titles at a relatively regular clip. And so I don't think, even though being from Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City being the 1 seed, I still think they're a year ahead of schedule. I think they're a year away. I think they're going to have issues with teams that have size. But Shea's that dude. So I guess maybe they're too young to care.
I think they at least will make it to.
Well, I don't think
I
OKC is
think-
gonna be able to handle Denver in a 7-game.
they're not going to be able to
They
handle
have
Denver.
problems rebounding,
I think-
massively, and Jokic is just gonna bully Chet Holmgren.
I
because
think
he's
those
140 pounds.
first 2 rounds before they encounter the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, or the Western Conference Final, yeah. It's going to be more learning experience on the postseason, and then, I mean, I could see OKC maybe taking 1 game, maybe 2 at max, but I mean,
I think Oklahoma City will get out of the first round unless they have to play the Lakers or something and Anthony Davis just goes ballistic. They're good enough defensively, I would think. They don't really have a huge matchup for LeBron, but they don't really have anybody to guard Shea Gilgeous-Alexander either. And then, of course, you got Dallas and the Clippers playing in the first round for the 47th time in a row, it seems like. That seems to be like
they always meet up every time.
I'm just glad the Suns didn't match up with the Mavericks.
Yeah,
I don't think they would have been good matching up with the Clippers. The Clippers have beat the crap out of them this year.
That series is going to Game 7.
Yeah. This series is going to be electric. I mean, I do think Dallas. I realize Kyrie has played a lot better this season playing with Luka, but I've seen too many. I saw it with Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City after Kevin Durant left. Like, one guy can only take you so far, and he may have the Allen Iverson thing, or even LeBron back in 2007 with that first Cavaliers team. Even though guys stepped up and were overachieving, but one dude can only take you so far. And I mean, those two are pretty much the only examples, Iverson and LeBron.
Even if you're Shaq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Shaq,
Shaq
had
Kobe.
Shaq had Kobe.
I mean, Shaq made it to the finals once before that with Orlando, but he had Penny Hardaway and some other.
Even in Miami.
Yeah, it's got to be a supporting cast for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Shaq was on the back nine at that point too.
Yeah,
in Miami.
he
I mean, he was still good, but yeah, compared to that guy that was with the Lakers
back in 2000,
in Orlando,
2006, different guy.
7-foot gazelle, right? He played like Giannis with 50 more pounds.
300 pounds and moving like a freight train.
Yeah.
And it's like seeing Barkley back in the day get a rebound at 6'4" and go coast to coast and dunk on people in Philadelphia. It's so hard to see that guy on TV now and be like, man, that dude used to be a machine. What happened? But
well, I think it sounds like it's anybody's game, really. I mean, we were talking about you said the play-in games are starting tonight.
Yeah, the Western Conference playing games start tonight.
Eastern
Conference playing games are tomorrow.
So we're going to suss some of this stuff out pretty soon. I like the play-in tournament myself. It's in one way, it's a little bit unfair to somebody along the way, but in another way, somebody gets a chance that wouldn't have had a chance. So,
and it's worked. Like I said, it worked out for Miami last year. They were a playing team and they made it all the way to the finals. So, I mean, it's kind of like when they keep adding wild card teams to baseball and those teams win World Series. So, I mean, sometimes you just need a chance, and they talk about it with the NCAA tournament. All you got to do is get to the dance, and then anything can happen.
Yep, anything can happen for sure.
As long as you're riding a heater.
That's why I'm really excited to see college football playoffs now, because it's always just been the top 4 teams. But
that was pretty boring for sure.
We're gonna also see a non-Power 5 school in the college football playoffs, which is most likely going to be murder every time.
Right, they're going
to for the one time that
you never know. Liberty might come back and do something good.
I mean, if you Liberty flames out of this, what Oregon did to Liberty, I don't know about that.
You never.
All right, well, we're gonna see about the NBA playoffs in the next few days, and then we'll have to wait to see about the NCAA playoffs until next season for sure. Anyway, thanks for listening to us, everyone. We appreciate you tuning in to northeastvalleynews.org. Check out our site at that place, northeastvalleynews.org. Also, if you're into social media, follow us on your favorite social media platforms at nevalleynews.org. We thank you for listening today, and until next time, be safe out there.